Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to have Sarah Scott Dooling back with us. If you missed her first presentation, it was back in May. Geez, time flies. Which was a great presentation on tips for parents in the trenches. Being at home with their children. So you can catch that on our website. It's recorded and up there. For anyone to watch, feel free to share that or any of our recordings with family and friends. Like I said, Sarah is returning back to present for us. Sarah is a clinical social worker and a registered play therapist supervisor. In addition, she teaches graduate level classes at 2 San Diego universities, though we have recently convinced her to move back to Massachusetts. So we're really excited to have her back in the state. Just two little housekeeping things. On the side, you'll see features for both questions and chat. We are going to hold all questions to the end, but feel free to send them in whenever they occur to you. But we will address them at the end of Sarah's presentation. And with that, I'm going to turn it right over to Sarah.
Hello. It's so exciting to be here with you. I can't see you at this moment, which is just the world we're living in right now, but just know that I'm feeling a kinship with you already. So play is my all-time favorite thing to talk about. It's always hard for me to try to condense it into an hour, but we're gonna do it. And I'm hoping you will leave this hour feeling like you have a plan, kind of a recipe for how to play, kind of high frequent play doses that will feel meaningful to you and your child, which I absolutely believe leads to less stress in the home and more joy. So that's our plan. If you're open to it, and I hope you are, I'd like you to take a second or two to think about what games and toys you really dug playing with when you were a kid. Important we can kind of bring out our own inner child today to get into this zone. So think about what that might have been. Maybe it was board games, maybe it was riding your bike around the neighborhood. And I'm Kristen has assured me this will work, but I'm hoping you can type it into the chat box so I can kind of get a sense. And then I'm hoping I can see it. So if nothing's coming to you, or you're not feeling like writing it in, that's okay too. I will, as I was preparing for today, I was thinking about what did I like to play when I was a kid, and I was kind of going through board games and different toys, but really what stood out is my sister and I would wake up in the morning, we shared a room, and we would get a bunch of stuff from around the room and put it on our beds and make price tags and try to sell it to each other. And then we called them bed sales. And I was thinking about, and so much of what we'll talk about today and what I hope you'll start to notice is often it isn't, the games that we buy and the ones that are so heavily marketed to kids that are bringing the most joy. Because man, those bed sales, my sister, she was tough. She tried to sell me back my own stuff. And I fell for it. So I didn't see any chats come in. So this is, so I'm a registered play therapist. I worked in a school as a school social worker for 12 years in California. My favorite thing in the universe is working with kids and families. I started to get a little bit burnt out when I was working in the schools, noticing that I just felt like there must be more to looking at kids. I was seeing people do a lot of behavior charts and really micromanaging kids' play on the playground. And so I started to dabble in play therapy and ended up completing that program, which is about 3 years of just studying play, which was a pretty amazing thing to get to do. So this is a quote from a play therapist named Gary Landreth, and he just says, "Birds fly, fish swim, and children play." This is just what they do. And often I think we forget that as adults, certainly in public school we forget it. that this is their first language is play. This is what's developmentally appropriate. This is what's culturally appropriate in the culture of childhood, is that they play. This isn't frivolous. This isn't an extra thing we'll give them time for. This is how they move through the world. And that can be hard, certainly hard to manage when you're living through a pandemic and also trying to work. So usually at this point, I would say, is everyone okay? I can't see you, but just know that I'm asking it. Hoping you're with me. So this is my office, which I haven't seen people live in person in since March. But so I see people. I teach at San Diego State and UCSD, and I see children and families for play therapy. So this was during the pandemic when I was not seeing people in person, but I had access to my office. I was just, I have a 3-year-old, and we just were off. We were having like some major quarantine rifts. We just couldn't get into our groove together. And I just was desperate to find an activity we could do that was safe during coronavirus to kill some time, really. So I thought, hey, I'm a play therapist. I have so many cool toys. Let's go. We're going to check out my office. She had never been. Oh my gosh. And it was great. I recognize not everyone has access to a room like this. We got on the floor and we played for maybe like 18 minutes. It wasn't all day, but we just were able to sync back up again. And it really reminded me that I'm constantly kind of teaching about this. But to experience it was so important for me. So she allowed me to take some photos of her play. I'm always wanting to clean up as she plays. And I learned to really let go of that during this pandemic, that being messy is part of the process. There she is, face covered. That is healing. Playing is healing and restorative for people of all ages. There's all, if you love this stuff, there's all kinds of awesome things you can read, and I'd love to connect with you if this speaks to you. But we know that play is healing and restorative and developmentally appropriate and helpful for their cognitive development and emotional development. So much good comes out of it. And playing with you is what every child wants. And it's hard to know how to do that if you haven't played in a while. So this is what we're going to talk about today. How can you play? All right. I also want to ask you again, everyone doing okay? Trust that you are. So I put this on here not to get too kind of academic about it all, but really I always feel this need to want to like elevate what play is all about, because I do think as adults sometimes we forget and we just, again, see it as kind of frivolous. But this is really important, and people have been studying about and learning about play and the stages of play for decades and decades and decades. I would say it kind of starts way back with Freud, who was looking at some case studies of some children who were phobic, if anyone remembers reading about that in their Psych 101. So if you haven't, think about your own children for a minute or two now as we talk about this, and see if you can kind of make sense of what kind of play you are witnessing them engaging in. And I know all of this is different with all the stay-at-home orders. So solitary play, we see when children are in kind of more of a baby phase, kind of 8 months, once they can start using more of their fine motor. And it's solitary play. They might have blocks in front of them and be maybe moving them or putting them in their mouth, most likely. But it's solitary play. They do this on their own. Parallel play, we start to see two children next to each other playing, but not really interacting at all. But it's a little bit of engagement. They're next to each other. Associative play, this is what I witness all the time now with my daughter. As a cousin the same age, and they're playing and talking to each other. But it sounds like a little bit tangential. They're not really connected on any one common goal, but there's togetherness. So that's kind of around that, 3 to 5, 3 to 6. And then we see kids kind of move into a cooperative play stage, which, they're working on a common goal. Maybe they're building a Lego set, they're working on a puzzle. they're building a tower and they have this common goal. So I put this here just to notice, and again, to just kind of reinforce how incredible play is. We see kids start to play really, I mean, I think around 3 months, we start to see babies and infants look for ways to play, right? We give them the sensory, the things that make those different noises, and we see this from a really young age. I also, these are the types of play. Again, we'll get more into some specific ideas for you, but I'm hoping you'll have access to these slides when this is finished, and this might come in handy. So as we look at this too, just be thinking about, what play things your kids have around, what kinds of games, what kinds of toys. I think we tend to overload one category, kind of based on maybe what we like to play when we were a kid. So dramatic play, fantasy play, make-believe, this is certainly, my child is in this stage now. So if you have a 3, 4, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, dressing up, make-believe, all of that is happening then. We have expressive arts, risky play, which is so important and always nerve-wracking as a parent, right? They want to walk on a wall, or they want to swing on a bar that they maybe shouldn't be swinging on. Social play, so board games, things like that, and then sensory play. So anything that's really involving all the senses. So nothing certainly you need to have memorized or really know in order to play, but just to be curious about what your child and children are drawn to. We see that, certain kids I have a child who very much enjoys risky play and really has a need to be able to do a lot of that and engage in a lot of that physical risky play. So that helps me when I decide what to purchase and how to kind of plan her day and how I can engage in it with her. Okay, so my big game plan was I wanted to leave you with a recipe. I wanted to feel like you could have a takeaway when this ends that you could use right away. So let's see, this is my hope, this is my daydream. So 4-part plan. That step 1, and we'll go over some examples for each of these, is that you can remember that play is a child's #1 job. It's just to me as a play therapist, it's the most important need that we have to meet, other than sleep and eating. This is so vital for their growth and development, and it's work for them. This is the work that they do every day when they play. So it's important, and that's so hard for what you're all doing right now, because you have to be meeting that need and also homeschooling and figuring all this out. This is hard what you're doing. Step 2, show your child that you see her. We'll talk about this. This is can be such a fast way to give your child a dose of connection by letting them know, I see you. And we'll talk about some pretty quick ways we can meet that need. I'll talk a lot about letting your child lead the play and be in charge of the play. Not every play therapist believes in this, certainly not every parent, so see how this feels for you. It doesn't have to be your style, but it's part of the recipe I'm endorsing, is to let kids be the boss of the play. Not all the time, but to give them a dose of it, where they are the director, they tell you what to do, and you do it. And then resisting the urge to barge in to help or fix when there's something happening. I have to catch myself on that one all the time. All right. Just imagining you all out there, hoping you're doing okay. So step 1, remember, play is a child's #1 job. Adults talk, children play. It's another quote, short one, we like to use in play therapy. This is their language. So for play therapists, much like if I had a client who spoke another language, if I had a Spanish speaker come in to see me in therapy, I wouldn't say, oh, sorry, we're going to speak in English because that's more comfortable for me. Of course, I would make sure there was a translator. I would make sure we could meet that need. For play therapists, it's similar. If we're going to work with kids in therapy or help them work through things, that we have to be willing to meet them using their language. A child's brain grows, all of our brains grow from the bottom to the top. So that prefrontal cortex, that's language and thinking and planning, that doesn't stop developing until we're 25, 26. So when you have a 6-year-old or 7-year-old and we're trying to really get to the bottom of something by just asking them questions and talking, that to me, that's not developmentally appropriate, and that can be really complicated for kids. So this is my nugget. This is Nora. So kids will play out what's happening in their world. I don't know if I would ask you now, if I was seeing all of you, to share about, I'm guessing you've seen your children play out themes related to health and sickness and illness. So I've caught Nora in a couple of these moments and been able to capture it. She has her doctor kit out and has her elephant there, and he was sick and he had a fever and he had to go to the doctor. And so they're living through the pandemic with us and trying to make sense of it. And this is how they'll do it often. So we'll continue, I think, for a while to see all kinds of themes in their play related to sickness and masks and wash your hands. And I see it with my child all the time. And so I say this just to, that's normal. This is how they work through it. This is what we hope happens. It's their way of making sense of it. Take a minute to think about someone in your life when you were a kid, or now, if that stands out for you, who made you feel like you just lit up the room. When you walked in the room, you just knew you were the center of their universe. They were happy to see you. They were curious about you. They were in tune with you. And bring that person to the forefront of your mind and try to remember how that felt. It's pretty incredible if you had that. If you know, I happen to have I was really lucky to have a parent who gave us doses of that. It feels really good. I mean, it feels really nourishing to have someone. As adults, it feels amazing. Someone who's just so curious and hangs on our every word. I'm smiling because we all need this more, and we're certainly not getting it now with everyone stressed out, but it feels so good to us as adults, and it feels that, you know, times a million for our children when we give them a dose of it. And I say a dose of it because I know that you can't give this all day. You're trying to work and homeschool and prepare meals and all of it. So but if we can give it to them in a 3-minute dose, a 5-minute dose of just stopping everything and being so tuned into what they're saying, even if you can do a 30-second dose, you'll see results. So these are just some of the terms that we use for what we do with kids and adults when we're in therapy with them and making sure they know that they're seen and heard. We might mirror, right? So we're kind of, they're all fired up and, you know, using their hands. We might do a little bit of that and our eyes might open more. You know, really summarizing and giving your child back to make sure you got it, what they just told you. Tracking, again, just kind of reflecting everything you see, and no phones allowed. If you, I have a kind of call to action at the end that I'm hoping you'll be open to trying. But it's so important that they see it. I am so guilty of this. So I say it like it's the easiest thing in the world. But I feel like wildly attached to my phone during this chapter of our lives. So I have to remind myself all the time to put it away, put it in the other room. If I'm about to give my child a dose of like attunement. And so really we have a lot of urges as adults to ask questions. I think asking questions feels like connecting, and for kids, that's often not the case. That, you know, asking questions is kind of about our own agenda, and if you can give them a dose of listening and not ask any questions, you'll be happy with the results. So really just noticing what they're doing. You know, there you are. If they're doing artwork, you're choosing the blue crayon now, and you're writing all over the page, and you're stopping, you're thinking about your next color. And I know it sounds totally wacky, but there is a lot of this is rooted in some pretty awesome research as well. I won't bore you with all of that, but there's legs for this to stand on. Helping kids feel seen and heard, resisting the urge to just ask a lot of questions, and just showing them that you see them and that you hear them. So, so important. I think if you leave with anything today, I hope it's that. So step one, remember, play is your child's #1 job. Step two, show your child that you're listening. Active listening for kids looks different than how it looks for adults, so show them. Let your child lead the play. Let your child be the director of the play. And again, I'm going to ask at the end, I maybe should have put this at the beginning, that a call to action that for 1 week you commit to 15 minutes a day of this kind of play with your child. And 15 minutes can be impossible to get in your day. If you can't do 15, try 10. If you can't do 10, try 5 minutes a day with the child that's also a solid dose. So directing play and being in charge of play, I have such strong feelings about this. It gives our kids a desperately needed dose of power and control. So right now, the world is scary for all of us. It's especially scary for kids. It's unsettling, it's unpredictable. The adults in their lives are unsettled and seem unsure, and it's a lot of toxic stress for all of us to be exposed to. And for kids especially, in that, there's a lot of implications with that when we all have a lot of cortisol flowing through us and stress hormones, and we want, I believe it's critical we give kids as many chances as possible to experience power and control. They already don't really have, pre-pandemic, they really didn't have any power and control, but we can give it to them in their play. So I have so many memories of sitting down after work days and just being tired and just didn't know if I had it in me to really play my best. And my daughter would make me a plate of play food, and there it would be, and so I would dive in and I'd start to eat, my play food, and she'd say, "No, it's hot. You can't eat it that fast." Right? So for some of us, the inclination might be, "No, it's not. It tastes great." But I'd urge you, if you can, let them direct and to say, "It is hot. You're right. What should I do next?" So that's, again, you don't forever have to play this way with your child, but doses. You want to give them doses of this. You can try to not exceed their power during those doses of play. I see this happen all the time with caregivers. Is you're not hurting their development when you do that, but we have an opportunity to give them an experience that they rarely get, that they need in order to become, the citizens and humans we want them to become. So just assume you're not playing the right way. I have really learned to accept that. And sometimes that's part of their play. They want a chance to correct you and have you do it a different way, because that's something they never get to experience, and it's okay. It's great for them to have a dose of that. And you just can reflect it back. Oh, there I go, not doing it the right way. And I usually just break character and say, what should I do next? And see where it goes. Be comfortable letting them lead you and see where it goes. So we're playing a lot of doctor around here since the pandemic started. Another play therapy tip, if you have a child under the age of 10, it's so important, I think, to have doctor kits or materials around right now so they can play out some of this. But I often get this wrong when we're playing doctor, that my leg is broken and I try to play it out a certain way and I get it all wrong, and I just know how to accept it now and let her lead. So this one tends to be what feels the most uncomfortable, I think, as adults in the beginning. But again, I would just encourage you, commit to 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day for a week, and see what happens. I'm peeking at the time. Tend to go long. Okay, we're good. Step 4, resist the urge to barge in to help or fix. This is hard. This is hard when they're playing, right? I don't know if anyone has this game. We got my daughter I was desperate to try to find games and toys that would keep her engaged so that we could work. This marble tower, hoping there's some nods out there happening. Maybe some of you have bought these and you put them together and you drop the marble and it does all these cool things. Probably a little bit too advanced for her age. And it was a struggle for me to watch her play because I just wanted to be like, let me just do it, put it together this way. But if you can, again, give them 5 or 10 minutes of just dosing them with saying, I'm here if you need help. Let me know if you need help. Same with the trains. These are just, I'm sure you have your own examples of this when we're doing trains and putting she's better at it now, but when she was, a year ago trying to fit the train tracks together, and it would be painful to watch because you just know you could do it so fast. But how important it is for them to begin to practice and master, hopefully, the skill of trying on their own and then asking for help when they're ready, and to know they can try it on their own and then ask for help, try it on their own and ask for help. That is so much of what we hope kids will be able to have as they move into adulthood. I'm going to try this on my own, and then I feel safe enough to ask for help. Building the tower, same way. And you can facilitate this by just reminding them, I'm here if you want help. Let me know if you want help. Right? But if we always jump in to fix it during these moments, or to help without asking their permission, I think we start to send some messages that get internalized about, maybe my parent doesn't believe I can do this. This is so much of what we want them to experience. Whew, I am flying through this. It goes so much faster when I can't talk to you during it. So my call to action for you, as I was thinking about today and so excited to spend this time with you, was that you would be open to committing to a 15-minute daily dose of playful connection with your child. And again, if 15 minutes is unreasonable, and I get that it might be, you have more than one child at home, you have jobs, and life is just bananas right now, then I would encourage you to commit to 5 minutes. And that it's 5 minutes of this kind of play, following that recipe, and see how that feels. And I just wanted this to be kind of a tagline that you can remember, that it sounds kind of jargony, but co-experiencing joy and delight, co-experiencing like laughter and playfulness and fun, right? Like if you've had a hearty belly laugh lately with a friend, you felt it. There's like a burst of oxytocin and awesome chemicals that come through us, and it feels good. So co-experiencing, when you're in there with them for that play, joy and delight is really regulating for the nervous system, which is really great for their immune system, which is great for everything. That's what we want right now. So this is important stuff. This is really important stuff that they need. Okay, I had this vision that we're going to play this game right now. I'm going to play it on my own. Maybe you can have maybe we can talk about it in the chat box after. I just wanted you to see for this kind of time, this protected, 5 or 10 or 15 minute window that I'm hoping you'll practice. You can choose, to just get on the floor with them, or, jump into whatever they're playing. But there's also some cool stuff we could kind of bring in. So I'm going to show you the thing I've been encouraging parents and teachers to bring into their practice. So it's a Tupperware full of dried beans, pinto beans, black beans, and I have also done this with my child. We just keep them around in different rooms. I have different things hidden inside the beans. So hide and seek is one of like the most amazing play phenomenons to me. Just I feel like since the beginning of time, people have been enjoying different versions of hide and seek. So I hide different questions. You can also hide, little miniature toys or anything. Hide them, and then we try to find them. So a ton of ways to adapt this depending on if your kids are older or younger, and they can pull out questions. So if we were here in person, I would ask you these questions. For example, they can be kind of light and bright. Would you rather be a great artist or a great musician? So I always just mix in a bunch of would you rather questions. I usually have stuff about the day, what is something kind someone did for you today? So if your kids are doing any kind of hybrid version of school right now, or they're great for us to have a ritual to learn about what their day was like and to avoid, resist the urge to say, how was your day? Because as we know, for most every age level, adults included, we say, but we don't really get a lot of information there. So there's other questions. If anyone's interested in this too, I'm happy to put together a list of questions and send it out. So that's that game. Just another important quote about the importance of play. We are never more truly alive, more completely ourselves, or more deeply engrossed in anything than when we are playing. Charles Schaefer's a really brilliant play therapist who actually just passed away last weekend, but has been in the field for decades. I put some really awesome accounts to follow on Instagram. These are just some of my favorite parenting accounts. Connect with Play, absolutely. My Instagram account is down there. I try to include parent resources, but all of these people are doing pretty awesome stuff right now with how to support parents who are parenting during this pandemic, during this really challenging time. It's another way for you all to access support and get support. I hope you'll check out some of those. Oh, it was really fast. So I'm hoping there'll be some questions. That's me. I'd love to hear from you if you're just dying to know more about how to make your own Tupperware full of beans with questions. Let me know. I'm happy to share whatever I have with you. And I think that's it. Kristen, are you there?
I am. I'm just going to remind people how you do send in questions. There's a box over here on your right, questions, and you can type those in, and we will do our best to address them all. Thank you, Sarah. That was great. I appreciate it. I don't know if you got my answer, but my favorite thing to do when I was little was Barbies, and I played them. And I played them until I was maybe too old to be playing with Barbies. But I had a ball.
Yeah.
We do have a question that came in about a different kind of game. My child cheats when we play games like Candyland and Shoots and Ladders. Do you have any ideas for how to handle that?
Cheating is such a complicated topic with adults. It really pushes our buttons, and kids, turns out. I am totally okay with cheating. That might not be shocking because to me it's just an opportunity, and it just gives me a sense that, oh my gosh, my child right now really needs to feel like a sense of confidence and success. But oh my gosh, the amount of times I've seen kids stack the Candyland deck so strategically. They're like, no, it's okay, I'll shuffle. And then like the ice cream princess is right on top when it's their turn. I usually say, and I know that's very much a therapy kind of response, but when you're parenting and your child is cheating, I just encourage you to be sure you're not obviously shaming, embarrassing them, humiliating them about it, which happens so easily. Kids can feel that way. But to just ask, hey, do you want to play by your rules today, right now, or do you want to play by the rules of the game? You choose.
You're a great mom, Sarah. Ooh, the power just flickered here. There's one other question that came in. Do you have any suggestions for the kinds of toys or games that I might have that I should have around the house for my 4-year-old?
I do, because I am so fascinated by this age. It's such an incredible age. They're just like on the brink of kind of getting to that school age phase. Yeah, so we call them real life nurturing toys. So anything that they can play out what they're seeing. So if you have like, whenever your phones are gone and you have to get a new one, those are awesome toys for this age. You have a basket of like old wallets and old sunglasses, not prescription. That might not be good. Anything that's dress up, or make believe. So anything like that, and keep a lot of your old stuff. Those are great toys. Old wallets, cell phones, glasses, hats, scarves, all of that. Having a dress up box or bag is so important for them at that stage.
That's fun. There is one other question that came in. Let's see here. What about for kids 2.9? Toys or games? I don't know if that's a different answer or.
Yes, gosh, I remember that being a tough one, and I was so hard on myself when my daughter was that age, because I was like, this is my whole job. Why can't I get stuff she's into? And that's kind of a tricky age because it gets so much easier like a year after that, because there's such a crazy cognitive burst that happens. They can do more. But yes, so baby dolls, as much gender neutral stuff as you can get, I think is really important. Is a great one. There's all kinds of cool empathy stuff you can build. The animal, there's some really cool animal sets. There's the small, like hard plastic miniatures that I don't love as much, but Lakeshore and a few companies have I think it's like a mama and a baby of like alligators, elephants, zebras, and they're softer. So things like that. Nothing that obviously has rules to it, or nothing that's competitive. Yeah, I would say to me, play food. Just like absolutely, they need it. So much that comes out of that, and a doctor kit. I'd say if you don't have Melissa and Doug has an awesome doctor kit right now that has just been so helpful for playing out all of what they're experiencing.
Nice. Well, we were out of questions, Sarah. Thank you so much for your time today. Just a reminder, they'll get a 3-question survey at the end when the screen closes. If you could just take a moment to answer those questions, one of them being submitting suggestions for any webinars you'd like to see in the future. Sarah, if you can just advance the next slide, just so people can see the email address if you have any questions to send in. There's a health and wellness at alwayshealth.org for any questions you might have going forward. And we appreciate you joining us. And just a reminder, you'll get the recording via email, but feel free to share with any family or friends. And we have a whole library of past virtual workshops on our website where you found this one. Thank you so much and enjoy your day. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you.